Hello again. I'm sure we have all of us seen by now the image of the black man playing the trumpet in England during the 16th century. This man may be seen in the thumbnail to this video. He has become something of a leitmotif during Black History Month in Britain, which takes place in October. It is hinted that the fact that there is a painting of a single black person in 16th century England is evidence that there was a sizable community. That's why he's become the pin-up boy for Black History Month, of course, because he is the only image of a Black Tudor. The book which promoted this thesis and started spreading an idea which, since its publication 4 years ago, has now been taken up with great enthusiasm by many cranks and believers in alternative history, is called Black Tudors. Some readers might, or some viewers I should say, might have come across this peculiar book. What can we say about it? Well, the first thing we can say with perfect assurance is that it does not live up to its name. What do we mean by Tudors? Well, the dictionary definition of Tudor is relating to the English royal dynasty which held the throne from the accession of Henry VII in 1485 until the death of Queen Elizabeth in 1603. Now, in ordinary life, day-to-day times, we broaden that definition to mean other people and things in England during this period, not just the royal family. If we talk about the Tudors, we really mean anybody at all that was living in England between those dates, between 1485 and 1603. So that's the general definition of Tudors that we work to. However, even by this loosest possible idea of what constitutes Tudors, it relates only to England and only between those years. And here is what the blurb to the book says. It talks about a Moroccan woman is baptised in a London church. Henry VIII dispatches a Mauritanian diver to salvage lost treasure from the Mary Rose. From long forgotten records emerge the remarkable stories of Africans who lived free in Tudor England. So we know that the author understands perfectly well that the Tudor period relates to England, and the subject of the book is Black Africans. Yep, that seems to be clear enough. Having got in our mind clearly what this book is about, Africans in England during the Tudor period, we turn to the illustrations and find, somewhat surprisingly, that only 2 Black Tudors are shown. 2 out of 19 images. Let's go through them, shall we? Right. Here's the famous John Blank, the trumpeter. Here is African musicians in Lisbon. Not Tudor. This is not England. What else have we got? A black trumpeter performs in this French tapestry. Not Tudor. It's not England. A German artist, so-and-so, shows an African drummer, city during the Spanish progress, not Tudor. Portrait of an anonymous member of the Habsburg court of Margaret of Austria, not Tudor. An African groom holds the Queen's horse in this 1617 portrait of Anne of Denmark, not Tudor, for 2 reasons, not least of which it's not Tudor. It's not between 1485 and 1603. By the time Charles I and Henrietta Maria are pictured in the 1650s, not Tudor. Right, the Masks of the Mary Rose sink beneath the waves. That's Tudor, but nothing at all to do with Africans. Africans diving for pearls by the Caribbean island of Margarita, not Tudor. Jewel given to Francis Drake by Queen Elizabeth, nothing to do with black people. Sir Francis Drake, he was a Tudor, but he wasn't black. community of Africans who escaped Spanish captivity. Here's a black man, not Tudor, nothing to do with England. To do with Francis Drake's voyage. No black people there. Edward Swarthy, one of several Africans serving in... Yes, here's a Tudor, a black Tudor. African child appears in this village festival by Marcus Gerards the Elder. That's Netherlands, not Tudor. Painted in 1580s Bologna, not Tudor. Mary Phyllis's countryman. Right, Mary Phyllis is given as a black Tudor, but of course you can see this fellow here, this is a countryman of hers, a relative. He's an Arab. The period is right, it's the Tudor period, but he's not black. He's not a black Tudor. Right, this is all very fishy. A book called Black Tudors with only 2 black Tudors. That's a little bit odd. The author spins out some very, very thin information, and 2/3 of the book, a little over 2/3, has no reference to black Tudors at all. It all boils down to 5 people who are actually black Tudors, which is to say they were in England between 1485 and 1603. From page 134, let me just find page 134. Right. There's 5 black Tudors in the first 134 pages, and for the rest of the book, over 2/3 of the book, no black Tudors at all. Page 134 is somebody called Mary Phyllis, who's a Moroccan convert. But, of course, she was Arab. She's not a black Tudor at all. So she just about fits into Tudor England from the years, but no, she's not black. The bottom line is that the author has, after a huge amount of research, come up with fewer than half a dozen black people who were visiting or living in England during the Tudor period. The recommendations on the back of the book make extravagant claims. For example, long forgotten lives, and fundamentally challenges our preconceptions of Tudor and Jacobean attitudes to race and slavery. I don't see how. David Olusoga likes it. He says it allows us to better understand an era of our national, I don't know why he says our national past, that fascinates us like no other. I think he means as no other. Great. Black Tudors promises to change perceptions of a period at the heart of Britain's national identity. I don't think so. Right, these are all very extravagant claims. Nobody denies for a moment that during the course of the 16th century there were small numbers of foreigners in England. People from France and Spain. There were Arabs, Russians, and almost certainly some Africans as well. But this is hardly revolutionary stuff. I had high hopes for this book, but it really is a swindle to call it Black Tudors. Only the first third of the book deals with Black Tudors, all 5 of them, and the remaining 2/3 of the book doesn't mention one single Black Tudor. However, I suppose we could say that she's the black history people owe her a debt of gratitude, because that image of the black trumpeter, as I say, is now seen everywhere, and it's used to try and suggest that there were lots of black people living in England during the 16th century, which is absolute rubbish.